All right.
Cool. Yep, looks like it. We're not the ones doing the speed run, so we can take our time. Yeah, maybe a tiny bit to like your left. I can't tell you yet because there's a delay, obviously.
That's not good, but I think I fixed it now. So let's wait to see if people can start hearing me.
Yeah, so right now it's still muted for me, but I'll also
so
have a look at it.
There's like a 20-second delay. So
yeah,
I just didn't turn on the Yeti thing.
Yeah, now I can hear you in the YouTube stream. Professional streamers here.
All right, I think everyone can hear me now. Okay, perfect. And you can also hear Tunde and Flo. Then we're just going to start because I think otherwise people would have probably mentioned that they wouldn't hear you as well. So great. Welcome, everyone. We've already got 19 people so far, so it's a good start. And welcome to the first official event of the SwiftUI series. This is a week that I started organizing a few months ago, basically to let people play around and have fun with SwiftUI. With some of my friends, I was always trying to do sort of a competition, like how fast can you do this, or how fast can you recreate the screen, and then from there, all these events came to be. So I'm not going to do that myself, just by myself this week. I've got a few really helpful, smart people that are going to help me out throughout the week. There's a little sneak peek to the two people on the right, of course. So let me start with the one in the middle, Tunde. I always forget how to pronounce your last name, so maybe you can do that for us and talk a little bit about who you are and
you always nail my first name. So yeah, my full name is Tunde Adegroye, which is Nigerian. So it's basically break it down into three parts. So Adego. Wait, that's more than three. Adego. Yeah. I think that's like 4 or 5 anyway. I'm not that great at counting sometimes. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so at my current role, I'm a lead app developer at my company. So I kind of like maintain the iOS and Android side of things. More predominantly though now we're like moving more towards SwiftUI, which is really fun. And in my spare time, if you didn't know already, I run a YouTube channel called Tons Dev, where I basically teach SwiftUI tutorials. I used to do UI kit, but I was like, yeah, SwiftUI is a lot quicker. So now I only do SwiftUI tutorials, and I'm excited about some of the new things that I'm going to be showing off in upcoming videos and whatnot. So yeah, that's a bit about me.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, Tunde does about like 3 YouTube videos a day or something. So I guess that would have been very hard to do with UIKit. But yeah,
so there actually was a bit of a secret behind that. So a lot of those videos are actually almost like pre-packaged. Like, you know, when you go into a shop and you have pre-packaged burgers, it's kind of like that. So a lot of them are like prepared a month in advance. So I'm kind of getting towards the end now where I'm going to kind of take a bit of a break because I'm not going to lie to you, I am burnt out at the moment.
Your stash is empty, yeah.
Yeah, my stash is empty.
just in time for WWDC. So at the end we'll put your YouTube channel on the screen as well, and I don't think I tweeted it out as well, but we'll tweet it out afterwards. So great, thanks. And then next to him we have Flo, and I should know your last name because I see it every time in my iMessage, but I forgot it. So please tell me your last name and who you are and what you do.
Most people probably only know me as Flo Writes Code because that's what I go by on Twitter and on YouTube. But my actual name is Florian Schweitzer. So very German and probably very hard to pronounce if you read it. if you're not German. But yeah, so I'm actually still in university, but I'm dabbling with iOS development in my free time. I think I wrote my first app in 2016 in my summer break. It was like a companion app for Pokemon Go, where you could calculate your candies that you need for your evolutions. And yeah, then I took a few years break, and then I came back with my bachelor's thesis because there I had to actually use SwiftUI for the first time 2 years ago, right after
Wait,
it came out. Actually,
you had to use it?
I didn't have to, but like I had to write an Apple Watch app, and I really didn't want to use WatchKit.
No, no. Yeah.
I went
So
with
yeah,
SwiftUI.
you were forced by technical reasons.
Yeah, exactly. But I absolutely fell in love with it. Like that's how programming has to be, in my opinion. Like it's just so much simpler, and you can get your ideas into code in no time, basically.
Mm.
And
Gets out of the
yeah,
way.
if you follow me, like a week ago, I made a video where I rebuilt 5 simple apps in 1 hour, and without SwiftUI, it would have been impossible to do something like this. Like these apps obviously were super simple, like a to-do list, like a newsreader app, and but still, like in UI kit, even one of them would probably take you like 45 minutes even to set up the table view. So yeah,
Just the amount of
absolutely love
boilerplate
SwiftUI.
code. I guess you could
Yeah.
save some time there with code snippets, but that's the same for SwiftUI as well, which we'll probably get into later as well. But yeah, at the end, we'll also put your YouTube channel up so people can have a look, and maybe if there's someone in the chat that can look them up, in the meantime, and just put them in the chat, that would also be great. So yeah, the reason I asked the both of you a few weeks ago to join as judges for the speedrun event is well, Flo was quite obvious because he was doing all these speedrun videos already, and then the 5 apps in an hour was kind of, yeah, okay, I guess I have to have Flo on board now. But I was also speaking to Tunde, and he was cramming out all these apps, and one of the things that he really hammers on is to basically like I'm not sure what the word is, componentize, like make small elements out of your code for like reusability, and especially if you're doing speedrunning, like you want to get into this mentality where you like keep your code clean as well, because otherwise it can be really hard to keep track of what's going on. And we'll see that with some of the contestants as well, where some people wrote everything in the body, some people started breaking it up quite early already, and it really helps you to create like a mental model of what goes where in your views. So yeah, let's switch over to our fancy screen sharing.
Also, like that isn't just true for speedrunning. If you're starting your app project, you're always like super excited and go super fast, right? But then a week later, you can't remember anything and don't understand any of your code. So it's like, I also agree. It's so important to keep up the quality, even if you're trying to go fast. And that doesn't have to mean that you have to write a documentation or something. Like just keep the code clean.
Yeah, I think very good advice. Let me double check if everything's still working. I'm not sure if people can actually hear the two of you now. Give me 1 second. Why is that not working on that one?
Yeah, it works. I just checked it.
Yeah, also on the other view, because in this view, I don't see. What can you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. You were just super quiet. That's right. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, my mics are always so quiet. Like when I record a video, I have to crank it up to like 500%. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but.
All right. So just to refresh people on the challenge for today, the speed run is basically sort of like a racing running competition. The contestants had to recreate this screen. Everyone probably knows it. It's the camera app on the iPhone. And yeah, basically try to recreate that in SwiftUI as fast as possible. And this is an interesting screen because it has some very basic components, such as this buttons with spacers and everything, but also some funky stuff going on here. The paddings, how do you make sure the transparency and stuff goes through well, and also some minor details here in the corners that not everyone noticed. So yeah, we got a bunch of entries, which is super nice to see, from both pro and beginners, and the times range from 13 all the way to 88 minutes. And actually the 88-minute one I think is a really cool one to watch for yourself later as well, because you can see Tokarev, I think that's how you pronounce it, is really a beginner from what I could see. So you can see some of the sort of not mistakes, but sort of the old thinking of, or maybe, hey, this is how I'm used to programming. and how much faster it can be done in SwiftUI now. So at some point, they started looking for an icon for the Flash, and they started Googling for icons and icon sets, and then exporting it to Sketch, and then exporting that into the app, and then putting a circle around it instead of just using an SF symbol, for example. So so we're going to be judging based on a couple of criteria. Obviously speed, which is not just speed. There's an ambulance driving by, so if you hear that, that's what. So obviously we're not just going to look at the number here, but also on how you approach, like if you used any techniques to speed up your development. Tunde, what's the second one that we're going to be looking at?
Reusability.
Yeah.
So like how you reuse components. So like something like Jordy was saying about what I hammer in my videos, like how can you almost like get multiple things by just doing it once rather than repeating yourself. And Flo, I'll let you take the honors for the last one.
Yeah, the third one was attention to detail. So colors, sizes, if stuff is like capitalized correctly, if padding is correct, if you like had the correct alignment and stuff like that. Yeah. So I think the bottom line is it's not all about the speed, even though it's called a speed run. There are still different things to take into consideration.
Yeah. So we're gonna start with our first entry by Ericsson. And it's by Andrew.
Andrew.
He was the first one to submit, so it's only fair that we go first as well. The problem is that I cannot make this bigger. I guess I'm just gonna open his code.
You could go into theater mode.
Yeah, cinema mode. Yeah, that one.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. It might still be a bit tiny. So he actually submitted this, I think, on Friday or Saturday already. So he was like super fast. Didn't cheat by looking at other people's submissions. So I think I'm just gonna scroll through some stuff, and then maybe if there's anything you want to highlight, just let us know. And
could you do it? Could you do it, Jordy, where you set this video to go in like 2x or 2.5 to make it even quicker?
Yeah, it's at 2x now. I cannot go faster than that, I think, or did they allow?
Oh, fair enough.
No, just 2x.
Oh yeah, I used to have this extension that will allow me to go like 10x or something, but
yeah, it's fine. You can just skip through a bit.
So maybe here they start at the top section. The top section, I think, is the easiest part of the app, right?
Yeah, I also think so. Like it's very simple. It's just an H stack basically, and then applying like some basic modifiers, some padding, some background. But this is definitely the most basic part, and I think most people actually started at the top, right?
Yeah, well,
it just makes sense.
You saw some people that started from the background, just by starting with a Z stack, or just so that you have the phone there, the camera there as well. But yeah, I guess with these things, it's easy to start with one section and not worry about the rest.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so
someone.
the top
sorry,
section.
Jordy.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, there's someone in the chat saying that. Is it me or is the sound super low?
Sorry, what are they saying?
Is it just me or is the sound super low, Fabio? I don't know if we're really quiet.
Good thing to check. Otherwise, I can bump it up a little bit.
It's a bit low for me as well when I turn on the sound on the YouTube stream.
Okay, I just bumped it. Can you say something, Flo?
Test. Hopefully, it's a bit louder now.
Yeah, I bumped it up, so
let's see. Yeah,
it should be louder now. And otherwise, let us know. We'll have a look.
In the meantime, a lot has already happened here in our replay.
Yeah, so the top section is pretty much done. I think from first glance it looks really accurate as well. And then he goes on to these circles for the zoom, and a lot of people had different approaches there on how to actually make those circles. So maybe it's easier for me if I
love the digital color meter here to pick out the correct color. That's a nice touch.
Yeah, so I just opened. Can you see the Xcode project now as well?
Yeah.
So Tunde, maybe this is a good example also to talk about some reusability here. So basically, you made a Z stack and just gave all of them different backgrounds. How would you approach this in a different way, maybe?
Yeah, so for me personally, the first thing that I would do is I kind of look at like what they all share similarly. So you can see that the background there's a circle that's applied onto each individual one. Like you could kind of like look at that and be like, okay, so they all kind of share that, and also they all have their own like kind of custom styles, like the semi bold and the font and whatnot. So what I would do personally is I'd actually create some kind of like struct that basically has some kind of config. And within that config, I could set stuff like the font style, the string that you see there, like the 0, comma
Yeah.
5, all that kind of stuff. And then I would essentially just use a for each to loop through the config and just like kind of pass in those styles. So let's say in the future, if I don't know if Apple would do this, but let's say in the future, if they did create like a 3 or 5x or whatever, all I would need to do is just simply update that array. I don't need to like copy and paste another text inside of it. I've kind of got my data source there for the UI on the screen. So that's just one thing that I would do. But I think that's something that like I didn't really check this person's experience, but I think that's something that comes with time and when you actually like are doing stuff. Because one day you'll kind of just clock and think to yourself like, oh, I'm kind of repeating myself here. How can I make this better? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I would approach it the same way. Like I would start to write out one of them and then try to think about what is different between this one and the next one, and then extract it into its own view and just add like 3 properties that you can set. And then even like if you don't want to create a configuration object, I think it's still fine to like just use that view 3 times.
Yeah.
Still like a lot more reusable.
Yeah. One thing one thing as well that you've said there, Flo, it's a really good point as well, is that is extracting stuff out into its own view. Because like in this example with that circle, I don't want to. I might want to be in a situation where I just simply just view and isolate that circle. I just want to see that component on its own. So just doing that way, you just extract out into the view and changing the preview styles to be I can't remember, is it previews size that fits the display mode or something? Change it to size that fits so I can just see this is what the component looks like. So it's just the little things like that. But yeah.
And obviously, like in a speedrun setting, maybe it's easier just to type it out and copy paste it, right? Because the thing that changes is this number and the rest is the same. But if you're making something that's a bit more complex, where you maybe have to tweak, all right, is it 5 or is it 4 or is it 3? But yeah, like those things, especially if you come with code snippets where you can really quickly just make a default view with some components that you use a lot, for example. Yeah, definitely a good strategy. So we're almost done now, actually. And one of the things that I personally was struggling with was this circle and how to make that outline. And so the approach that Andrew took was basically creating 3 circles, super simple, like one circle, a bit bigger circle, and then a smaller one on top. I think the nicest way is actually to do it with sort of the stroke border thing, and some other people did it later as well, because you can just append that to the thing itself. But yeah, I think other than that, it's like super solid.
And again, like that circle button, that would be a perfect single component. And even if you like don't want to create a separate view for it, just create a computed variable like the body and stuff it in there, and then it's still like at least organized in your source file.
Yeah, completely true. I'm just gonna try to find the screenshot I used in the.
I think Tunde is frozen right now.
Oh yeah, I think so too.
Maybe his Wi-Fi died or something.
Well, we'll just continue on without him. We don't need Tunde for the next few. So we'll come back to this one later, because I think it's just a very solid approach. Nothing completely crazy there, but just like, all right, just using SwiftUI what it's used for. I did miss some attention to detail with, for example, the little 3D animation stuff here on the side. Okay, so Tunde left, I think. So
that probably broke our layout.
yeah. So let me try to put you back again. So
he's back. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but where? Okay, so I guess the two of you just exchange places now. So let me see how I can actually. Okay, that's Flo now. And
what happened there?
Yeah, where'd you go, Toon?
So I don't know. My internet service provider most recently has just been awful. I can't even use my smart TV. So yeah, I need to get that sorted, man.
All right.
I was really hoping it wouldn't drop because all day throughout work it's been dropping. I was like, oh, please don't do it now, man. And it literally just did it then. I was like, damn. But yeah,
it's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
yeah.
So so you missed the most important part, Tunde. So we actually already graded this this first entry. So too bad you don't have a say in this one. All right, let's go on to the next one.
Also, maybe because we go on to the next one, Diego in the chat is saying whoever nailed the dial wheel distortion of the modes should get a gold star. And I agree, that's probably the hardest part of this design.
Yeah, one person actually got that quite nicely. So the nice thing is that this one is already recorded at 2x, and so it should be 2.5 minutes to go through it. This second entry is by Frank. Yeah.
Already now we can see a different approach, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this person now coded out the entire first image and then copy pasted it for the second one. Whereas I think the first person added 3 images and then applied the modifiers to each of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think personally, I would also go with the code one out and then try to apply the same to the others, or even make it reusable, of course, but
same, man.
Yeah. And now mocking the background. I also like that.
And the nice thing here is also they actually use buttons so that they're interactive, which it was not part of the challenge itself, but it makes them feel more real when you actually show it to someone, when they can actually tap on it, get some feedback. And something else that they're doing now, which I also really thought was nice, they collapsed the code. Anything like they're done with, they don't use anymore. It's still all in this big body flow, in this big body view. So I would do that differently, but it gets the same results. And here you can see they copied some of the code from the top section to the bottom, because the bottom is quite similar as well, just different types of components, different sizes.
So I've not like I said, I've not actually watched all these videos, but I'm very curious to see if anyone actually uses a tool to help speed up adding SF symbols.
Yeah, me too.
Because not even just the Mac app, like there's there's one tool, SF menu bar, done by Jeff Hackworth, which helps speed up development massively. And so I'm just curious to see if anyone actually uses that. But I think the way that this person's approached it is, if I was strapped for time, like this, I would do this the exact same way. I would kind of build it dirty, and then once I finish building it dirty, I would then look back and refactor it. Because in my day-to-day job, like it might sound brutal, but ultimately the client doesn't really care about the code that you write. They kind of just want to see it working.
True.
That's it. That's completely true. Yeah. And also the user also doesn't care about the code. The user only wants the app to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it's always good that you can also look at your code in a few months and understand what's going on, of course.
100%. Yeah, man.
So also, there's also something interesting here. This person is using the simulator, not the SwiftUI canvas, which actually costs you a ton of time in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think because this person probably knows, all right, I'm going to make this type of view. All right, let me just first put out the skeleton, like, all right, one view on the left, and then just check it afterwards. But for example, with the circle, they probably had to run it a few times. And here it looks really fast because it's playing now at 3x speed. But I mean, I didn't use the preview for a long time as well, because sometimes it would just bug out or like not reload and just get frustrated.
I think sometimes as well when you're working with it, like I feel like I've gotten to the point where my mind is a SwiftUI preview, because I can kind of, if it's a really simple view like a H stack, I can kind of just simulate in my head that like, okay, I know this is what it's gonna look like. If it's something a bit more like this circle, then I probably would prefer to use it. But I know before, when I didn't have an M1 MacBook Pro, the preview was absolute garbage. So I just use it.
Especially if you have like a large dependency graph, right? Then it takes forever to reload. And like also with every change to a state variable, I think the preview stops working, right?
Looking at the chat,
if you memorize your keyboard shortcuts, then Command Option P, I think, to continue the preview.
Now you really do know your shortcuts, so look at the chat here. I can see Frank actually saying that the preview was less fast than the simulator. So I think that was like what you said as well, Jordy. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But also, like for people who have a slower Mac or who just prefer the simulator, I think there's now a package to like hot reload your simulator. I haven't tried it out myself, but I think Stuart Lynch made a video about it, and I saw like a ton of tweets after that Swift conference in Turin.
Yeah, I forgot the name. It's the same guy who also makes Sorcery Pro.
Is it called like is it called Inject or something?
I think.
Yeah, maybe someone in the chat can type the name so we don't have to spend the next 20 seconds trying to remember. But his sorcery tool is also really good for like automatically creating code based on templates and stuff. Like I tried to try it out at some point, but it's a bit too complex for me. But it's like super useful for all these default kind of files you have to make. So in the meantime, Frank already like basically got most of the UI done. So what did he do there? Yeah, so he's now working on the mode selector, I think. Again, here as well, there's some stuff that could be reused. So he adds a padding to each individual thing instead of just adding it to the H stack. I guess it would just be easier to add it to the H stack itself, right?
I think when you add it to the H stack, it won't be between the elements. So for that, you would need to use a group, because then the modifier is added to each element of the group. So a lot of people sleep on group actually for stuff like this, because it like simplifies your code by a ton.
Why would you not be able to do it on H stack then? Because the spacing is between the elements in an H stack, right?
Yeah. If you apply a spacing in the H stack initializer, yeah, that would work. But if you add the padding modifier to the H stack, then it would just be on the sides, right? But if you use a group and then apply a modifier to the group, it will actually get applied to every single element inside of it.
Okay, makes sense.
But I mean, it's just a single modifier, so I would let that slide here. That's fine.
No, but just like if we're like nitpicking on ways to speed it up, like that would save 4 lines of code. But yeah, I think other than that, like the same strategy Frank used all the way at the top section, he keeps like reusing the same thing, and it actually makes a lot of sense, because every time it's like 3 elements. And yeah, here he's struggling a bit with trying to get the circles to look well. Doing some fancy stuff with the gradients. Oh yeah.
I was curious as well to see how people tackled that bottom gradient for the where the circle is, because it's not a simple gradient. It's like 4 different color stops when you look at it.
Yeah. Which one are you talking about then?
So you know the in the design that you put up, where the circle is for the camera button and the picture and the rotate. That gradient it's like almost fades from like a clear to a black, and then it's got a black and it fades out again to a clear. So it's not just like one single gradient. It's like clear, black, clear a bit. If you look at the picture on there on the SwiftUI series, you'll see.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get it up. Give me 1 second. So here. Yeah.
So you see how like on certain bits of the gradient it's kind of like darker than other bits. It's not like just like a simple from.
Wait, which gradient are we talking about now?
On the bottom. I wish I could draw on the screen, but where it says where your mouse is, where
this part.
The whole thing, the whole bottom view,
From the left to the right.
So if you clock that, it's not just clear black. It's like some darker bits in between it as well. I think someone did tackle it. I saw someone put a solution in the code, and I was like, that's pretty impressive. I was looking and I was thinking that like, man, how would I tackle this? And when I saw the solution, I was like, oh, it's pretty simple.
and I guess here on top of this and on the other side, there's also a little bit of gradient on top of that. To make that a little bit darker, but.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, those are the little details. Actually, like, they do matter. People forget about them, but they do matter in the end. You notice them eventually.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna try like a Rocket Sim feature out, but should try it with the right project. Just to look at the end result. Where do I have that Finder window open? I have it somewhere else.
It used to be there.
I think it's this one. Yes. And this was Frank. Let's just have a look at the end results. So the cool thing is that I didn't update my Xcode to the latest version, so I have to actually manually lower the build target by 1. Because it's obviously not important to be on the latest version of Xcode, right? It's totally doesn't come with
I mean, honestly, I hesitated to update to 13.3 because of all these main actor warnings.
Yeah. I mean, if you've got, I don't know if anyone uses that Xcodes app, but if you've got that, then you can kind of go crazy. You can just go wild in between, man. You can even start downloading pre-releases if you don't care about life. You know, you can.
Yeah, and you can also just have like 3 versions installed at once, right? So if one doesn't work, like doesn't matter, just use the other version.
I just treat myself whenever I see a beta. I might as well if it's there.
Yeah, so
you'll be in for some trouble in 2 weeks in WWDC, right?
so if we compare the two, you see some details in like the size of the stroke and the size of the but overall I think it's a pretty good.
It's very close. It's very close, honestly. Yeah.
And obviously like different fonts and everything, so you could spend a lot of time.
Yeah, but that was was genuinely hard of you, Jordi, to pick this exact screen. Like someone commented on Twitter, this is the only Apple app that doesn't use SF.
I didn't know.
The normal San Francisco font.
Yeah,
right?
they use SF camera apparently.
I didn't even know about that font.
Same. And apparently there's also an SF Hello that only internal like Apple employees can use. So I don't even know what it looks like, but
interesting.
But yeah, I think overall really good approach, and it was already cool to see the differences there. So the next one is Annika, and she's actually the fastest one of all the entries. But I did speak to her before, and I know that she actually did a few trial runs. So we'll see that at some points where she will actually have like, oh, the height of this is 169. It's like, oh, but, like normally you wouldn't probably be able to know that. Let me crank the resolution up a little bit of this one so we can actually see what's
But still, you know, like actually thinking the problem through before starting working on it, that's also part of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we can give her some credit for that, honestly.
True. And she, I think, is the only one that has a 3D thing going on in the cinematic and pano thing. So,
yeah.
I was actually really cool. So what I noticed here, she was doing a bit of a similar approach to Frank, but like typing it all again. And I'm always like, what you saw at the start, the background would be very small, and then all of a sudden it would get very large again. I'm always still struggling with spaces and how to get the right placement of objects.
Yeah, I mean, for this thing, I would for sure use a Z-stack instead of a background modifier, because like in reality, it's not really a background, right?
No.
Like if you think about it, the video is not the background, it's like the main element. Everything, like if I would go down that road, I would
overlay
everything else in an overlay. Exactly. But I would never put the camera in the background because that's like the main thing of the screen.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, so she started reusing some code here as well. So, or not reusing code, but she
but like applying it to the H stack instead of applying the foreground color to every single element. Yeah, I also like that.
Yeah, I clocked that one. That was really good as well.
Yeah, so here the whole zoom thing. Yeah, I think the same part as the first one. Like some of this code could probably be componentized, but it might be more work to actually do that here. Let's see. So going on to the how would you call that thing? Like the mode picker or something? Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, zoom level picker, or I don't know, the mode, right?
And so here you can see that she actually adds the spacing to the entire H stack. So then it immediately applies to all of them. And this is where the magic happens. So she adds a rotation effect.
Yeah.
That
thing is super powerful.
Yeah, you can do so much, especially if you link it to a gesture or something. But I always get messed up with what's the X, what's the Y, what's the Z.
Yeah. Me studying games engineering, I kind of know about that, but I get how most people get confused with it. Yeah.
I'm still going on Google Images and searching X and Y, and I just see the lines, and I'm like, that's what it is.
Like,
makes sense.
Knowing the coordinate system is one thing, right? But then thinking about what the rotation around the axis actually looks like that's a completely different problem.
Yeah. And I think here she just tilted the entire thing, whereas I think Apple's approach maybe only tilts the outer letters basically.
Yeah.
I would also expect that.
But yeah, like I'm so here they are side by side, and
super close for sure.
To be honest, even with that rotation gesture, I mean, I still think it's pretty close, man. Like Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So one thing that I saw someone else do is all the way at the top. You can actually disable the status bar, which is what Apple does in the camera,
Oh yeah, right.
Mhm.
which makes
Yeah.
a lot of difference in terms of how clean it feels. So
Mhm.
yeah, I don't
Didn't
think we're
even look for that.
yeah, I don't think we're going to detract points for it, but it's definitely a nice extra bonus for the attention to detail and
Mm.
like the sizing of everything. Yeah, like really impressive, and especially with the time that Annika did it all in. So yeah, is there anything you wanted to mention about this one?
Yeah, I think this is a really great solution. Actually,
Yeah.
very close to the original picture. Like, also the 3D rotation effect. It's a very nice detail. So
Yeah,
that like we had
yeah,
our third point, attention to detail. So
yeah.
I score for that one.
She actually had like time to just go back and actually change some paddings and everything. So yeah, super impressive.
Yeah.
Let's try to see the other one. Oh, no. Then we have Sarun Wongpacharapakorn. I think good enough. Who considers himself a beginner, but I think he actually did a really good job.
Yeah, I think Sarun is running a blog site,
Yeah, I was
right?
about to say, runs a really good blog as well, man, and I really like the way his website kind of formats all the articles and that. So, if you're watching Sarun, keep it up.
Yeah,
Doing a good job, man.
Yeah, and so Sarun
and
immediately
putting out
starts.
so much content
Yeah,
as well.
definitely. Yeah. And so he starts immediately with this thing we were talking about before, where you like split up the content in different like components, basically. So I liked how they started by just saying, okay, what kind of sections will I have? So they first like just wrote little comments saying, okay, top
Mhm.
action, zoom, just to make it clear for yourself, right, what I'm actually going to be building. Um, and I actually didn't know this trick where they looked at the size of the icon in the screenshot to determine what the font width would be. I
Yeah.
never knew that those directly related to each other. Always thought it's more of an estimate because then it can be padding around it as well.
That's
I'm
something
not
that I
gonna
really
lie.
love about SF
Yeah,
symbols, that you can just like apply a font modifier and scale it that way.
I'm
Because
not
if you
gonna
do that,
lie.
like you can put it in an H stack together with some text and then have the same size for like the image and the text.
I always used to do that, and I honestly thought I was doing that wrong. But this just validates that I'm down on the right
Yeah.
path. So I am doing something right because I was thinking surely the font sizes are the same as the width of the sketch, but I'm running with it now. I know what I'm doing.
So what about what he's doing here, where as a padding he uses the edge insets? I guess this would be the same as if you would just apply
Multiple
different.
padding
Yeah,
modifiers, yeah.
I think one
That
thing.
is seen so rarely, but every single time that I see it, I think like it's so smart. Like, why am I never doing this?
yeah. I guess a lot
Maybe
of
like
times
an
I'm changing the numbers up afterwards, so then I think it's easy if they're separate. So sometimes I
Mhm.
would use
yeah.
horizontal and vertical,
Yeah.
which already gets like 90% of the way there, because most of the time you don't want to have individual changes. But
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe like adding a few more overloads of the padding modifier would be cool. Like one with top, bottom, left, and right directly as like parameters. That
yeah,
would be cool as well.
yeah, and I guess you could make that yourself, of course,
Yeah.
as a
Yeah, of
custom
course.
modifier.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Let's
And
see.
then have like a default value for every single one, and then you can only add the ones that you actually need when you
Yeah,
use that modifier.
yeah, and have the
I think one
defaults.
thing I'm getting from this video as well is that the detail that Saru's going on to it with the sizing and stuff, because he's like almost going into Sketch and measuring it out and then
Yeah,
applying it into SwiftUI to then make sure that it's the right size. So it's really good to see that. And yes, my guy, man, he drops an XX in there as a placeholder. That that speeds things up big time. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's really good, man.
and I was really interested in what he's going to do here because he added a geometry reader. I'm not really exactly sure
Oh,
why.
it's gone again. Oh no, it's back.
I kind of know what. So it's so we could basically calculate the width of each item. So he basically divides it by 5. So if the thing was 100 pixels, each one would be 25 pixels each. So I guess as the scale as the screen scales, the width of each one will have almost like a fixed size. But I'm interested in that because I did make it go down to an iPhone 8 to see if it would work, and it was still fine. So I
Okay.
didn't know about this one, so it's a nice way of handling it as well, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. A
Oh,
lot of
it's
people
nice
also
doing
don't know
some
about
profiling.
the layout priority modifier, right? That can also be used for stuff like this, where you increase the layout priority of one view
Yeah.
so it grows more than the other view.
It's the same as that. Was it content hugging in UI kit where you can
Yeah,
control how
exactly.
it pushes it and that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
And then there's also custom alignments in SwiftUI, but I've honestly never dabbled with that because it's just so confusing to me.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
there's actually a submission where someone does use the alignment guides and animates it, and I was like, damn, that's really. I did not even know you
Looking
could do
forward
that.
to that one.
yeah, there's another channel, I think Code Slicing on YouTube, that goes super in
Yeah.
depth on that, and he recreates all these super complicated icons with it, but I never really fully understand it. So it's super powerful, but also maybe a bit overkill for most use cases. But the way this other entry also showed it, like, made it seem like super useful.
But especially people coming from a UI kit with auto layout and layout constraints, they will probably really like alignment guides, because that's like one of the most one of the most common things that UI kit folk complain about in SwiftUI, that you can't like align things at 50% of the width or stuff like that, and alignment guides actually make that possible.
Yeah.
For example, to also create like your own table view with like actual columns and rows. That's a bit sketchy in SwiftUI. Always looks like spaghetti code in the end, at least for me.
Yeah, I agree. They start adding some blur here, which I'm not sure is actually necessary at any point, but for the flash or something. But yeah, so I have the project up here on the right, and as you can see, like it's almost pixel perfect if you here on the left as well. The only thing is they also forgot to turn off the status bar, which obviously pushes some of the content down.
Yeah, but honestly, like the status bar, that's not SwiftUI, right? That's in the app delegate, or is it in the info pieces?
Right?
There's actually a .status bar hidden, which someone else uses later as well. Yeah.
I only knew navigation bar hidden.
No, status bar hidden. Maybe it's a custom thing they made, but I did see it come by.
You saying that's a modifier, Jordy? Sorry, or
yeah, I think it is, but I think it might be the next video actually. So
okay.
But yeah, like I don't know, I think like super well done. Although the fourth person so far who forgot about these little corner thingies here, so not top marks for attention to detail, but definitely a very high score on that. Then we'll go to
there's actually a modifier for that. Just looked it up in the documentation.
All right, so this next entry is by Vikram, and I'm just going to skip a bit ahead, because like as you can see, everyone starts with the same, but what's interesting is that he starts with both the top and the bottom already, so he already puts them, just so he has a bit of an overview of what he's going to be making.
I think one thing that he's done as well is really nice, is that he's kind of just placed the views as placeholders to position it in the right place, so I can come back to it later and then apply the styles onto it rather than getting it perfect. So you see the bottom with the 3 circles, I'm assuming that's meant to be the 0.5, 1, and 2. So he's just kind of just put them in place, and I'll come back to that one in a bit.
Yeah, and then once again here we see the image as the background. And then also like one thing, some people like to chain modifiers in one line.
Yeah.
That's not like, no.
You mean here on line 35?
Yeah, for the background image, yeah. I don't know why, but I don't know. I just don't like it.
I can see where you're coming from, yeah.
And then also one more thing, like I like that this person is using the preview, and now they finally moved it over. But a lot of people like don't use their horizontal space. Like they have the preview at like a giant width, and then 90% of that space is unused.
Yeah.
Like right here, for example.
Here,
yeah.
So this is actually the first person who also uses Rocket Sim, and we're not sponsored or anything by Rocket Sim. It's just made by Antoine, a friend of mine, and he said, "Oh, you can just give a few copies away." But it's actually super powerful in this case, because you can, now what we've been doing so far as well, like comparing, all right, is this like pixel perfect copy or not? So it really helps with padding and stuff as well, and there's other tools in there that make it even easier.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see.
I mean, even in your day-to-day life, like oftentimes working at a company, you're just given a design and you have to implement it, right? And even then it's super helpful. Right, so let's see.
Oh yeah, so this one, he actually uses the status bar hidden. So this is the first one that
Oh,
actually
yeah.
gets that correct.
Cool.
I'm wondering
First time to ever see that modifier.
Expect a YouTube video on that.
So let's see where he actually implements that here. Yeah, so it doesn't do it after seeing that it's wrong. No, he just.
And then also the preferred color scheme. To force it to dark mode,
yeah,
right?
yeah, smart. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I would
I
have
think in
probably
the
overlooked
simulator
that.
there's a Command Shift A
Yeah.
to change the appearance. But still, in some apps, it's like actually easier to just force them to dark mode instead of using like hard-coded colors.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
It's a lot nicer to organize as well in your assets, where you can just see all the colors in the light any appearance or dark variations as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that preferred color scheme modifier is also super helpful if you have multiple previews, right? So you can have like a preview for light mode and a preview for dark mode at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And then always make sure that everything like actually looks good and you don't have a hard-coded black or white somewhere, which oftentimes like messes up the other color scheme that you're not testing.
Yeah, something actually that we overlooked so far is Tunde, what do you see on line 13 and what do you see happening now?
I was literally
Yeah.
just about to comment on that. I was going to say that top bar looks really nice.
So the thing they're doing now, I've actually never gotten to work. So maybe I'm doing it wrong, but I always want to do this, what they're doing now. But for me, sometimes that command is always grayed out, where you can basically extract subview.
Yeah.
And then
I think it only works if you have your canvas showing. I think a bunch of these commands only work if you have your canvas activated. Also embed in ZStack, embed in HStack, and so on.
It only works if you have the Swift preview like open. Do you mean that?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so weird if that's the case, but that might explain why. But I'm definitely going to try that trick from now because
I've read that on Twitter a few weeks ago, and it like actually
mattered.
It's true.
Why did you not share that on your Twitter the day after you found out? Because
I probably retweeted it.
I'm glad that Vikram is here to teach us. This is actually nice to Nick, because we were talking about this before as well. Mm-hmm. He actually the 3 zoom things he basically modularized it by there's a little thing in the way, but oh no, what did I do?
I think also
I always find it interesting which approach people go with. Like, obviously you can either put everything in the body or modularize it, but there's no like one way to modularize, right? You can either put it in computed variables, you can create functions, you can play around with view builders, you can do a separate view. I always don't really understand where the function idea is coming from. Like, in my mind, it's the same as using a custom view, just like a bit dirtier but faster.
I think it also depends on your context as well, because like if in this speed run, if I'm the only one who's looking at it, it's fine to kind of just like do it here like this. But let's say if you're working in a team and I'm someone who's like gonna look at this project like 2-3 months from now, if I've just got everything in the body, VStacks, everything like that, coming back to it, not having that context of what that component is, it takes me more time to figure out what's going on. But just looking at that example before, I knew like, oh, this is the top bit, this is the bottom bit. I didn't have to like start scrolling through all the VStack to figure out where each thing is laid. So that's a really good job. What's the person's name again?
Vikram.
That's a really good job, Vikram. Yeah, really good job.
All right, so let me see how I pronounce their name. Tokarev, I think. So this so he's a beginner, so it took him 88 minutes, but like props for actually like going through it and finishing it. Especially because I think the timer starts blinking red at some point after 30 minutes, so there's a big brother watching him. But there's a few things here I wanted to highlight. So maybe if the both of you could also open their code on your side, maybe look through if there's anything you see there. But at some point he was looking for the flash icon, and he couldn't find the flash icon by searching for flash, and I think the icon name is actually lightning or something. Now I'm actually not sure what it is, but at some point. I'm trying to find where that is.
I think that's one thing where the as of symbols app could get improved a lot if you add like synonyms and like speech, like I don't know what the actual name is, but if I can type in not just house, but for example also home, and then the house as of symbol would show up, that would be so much better.
A bit similar to the emoji. Like for emojis, they have that,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah. Yeah, that'd be so cool. Like there's probably tons of databases or even ML models to like find synonyms for words that are typed out, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You don't even have to hard code everything.
No, they could even do it just by getting data from what do people search for and what I can do to actually end up copying afterwards.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that that they actually do use some modularity here in the carousel, which we were talking about
with
before.
The functions.
So yeah, like as we said before, there's a lot of different approaches for this, and I don't think there's necessarily one perfect approach, but this is especially helpful when you want to make something that's real and not just recreating something. Just all right, let's actually make some real buttons so that we can change stuff in the future.
I also like the default argument for the camera mode label.
I was about to say that with a parameter. Yeah.
Let's see.
And even working with to-do comments in a speedrun. Heads up. Heads up.
Yes,
that's some organization there. Yeah, I really like it.
I think what's more impressive, to be honest with you, it did take, even if it did take 8 minutes, is finding the specific icons that look similar to what was used in the designs. Because there's been so many times where I tried to find an icon and I've just been like, you know what, this will do, because I just can't.
Every single time.
No one's gonna realize it. Only I know the designs. No one's gonna realize this. But like finding a specific one, it's a pretty impressive, man. So yeah, good job with that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe if you have some time, go through some of this stuff later as well. If you're a watcher, and just see how different their approach is compared to some of the other ones that actually are super sufficient in SwiftUI, because you see that there's so many like things that are about like how SwiftUI works that once you get the hang of them, they really help you speed up your workflow.
Yeah, and also looking at the code right now on my other screen, this one is like 100% modular. The body is only referencing other views. Like, there are functions, but there are still other views. So looking at the body, you immediately know, okay, there's a header, then there's a spacer, then there's a zoom carousel, and then there's a footer. So you immediately like at least kind of understand what the body is about.
Yeah, true. So the next one uploaded their video, so I'm just gonna play it here. That's Daria Mikoc, and they even have music. So let me just turn it. And we have keyboard clicks.
What's the music? I'm curious. I've not saw these videos. What's the music? Is it like Stevie Wonder or something?
The other ones don't have music, but I'm just gonna turn it off just to be sure, because I'm not sure how the copyright stuff works on YouTube. But and I'm also can we can put it at 2x. So
yeah, Slothbear is also commenting right now. Wow, I've been looking for embed in HStack forever. I just tested, and those code actions are only available if the canvas is on.
Oh, really?
That is really weird, man. Why? I don't know why.
And it's so stupid. Like, why is it like that?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. Apparently, like the engine that like parses the code only lives in that preview thing.
Yeah, because I was thinking maybe underwater it actually does the commands that you can do when you right click on stuff in the preview or something.
Pretty sure those are the exact same commands.
Yeah, so I guess they'll probably fix that in 2.5 weeks from now.
Hopefully.
I can't wait until they like remodel that as a brand new feature. Like,
yeah.
We've done this amazing
and now
thing.
You can even right click if the canvas is not open.
For me, it's the Obama hands where they start doing this with their hands, where they start saying
So I'm curious about your approach for this thing. So at the top section, to basically determine how large and how high that should be, what they're doing here is like you're looking at the screen height and then dividing it by 8 or 5 and then 8, sort of as a magic number. How would you approach that? Just using a padding, I guess, or?
I think that's like the UI kit thinking still.
Yeah.
Coding it with respect to the screen size. I think SwiftUI lives in that like flow layout.
Also, as well, that might not scale nicely on
the smaller devices or different. Yeah.
I think just basically getting it to ignore the safe area and then applying the padding from there would just be better rather than calculating it like that. But like you're saying, Flo, it's definitely I can see the UI kit. So yeah.
Yeah. But also, like, for a speedrun challenge where you have a certain design and want to get it done quick, this is a valid approach.
Yeah.
True.
Definitely.
And especially if you don't need it to be completely perfect, which of course, if you don't want the attention to detail points, you don't have to. But yeah, it gets the job done, and if it's close enough, and you can move on to the next thing. Yeah. Why not, I
Then
guess.
also, did you notice that the shutter button here is actually just 2 circles instead of 3 because they're using a stroke border?
Let's go back there. Yeah, you're right. We actually saw that in one of the earlier ones as well.
Yeah.
I think it was maybe even an overlay or something. But yeah, this is a much cleaner approach, I think.
You could maybe even trim it down into one circle with like a background that's bigger than the actual circle or stuff like that.
Yeah, but then you get to the point of why would you do that, right? If this one, I guess technically that might be the nicest one, but
or the shortest one at least.
It's whether it brings you any additional benefits, because like at the end of the day, if you do it that way and they both come to the same result,
doesn't really matter, at least as long as it's readable.
Yeah.
Also adding the linear gradient there. And thanks for watching. I like that touch.
Thanks for participating.
Also a pretty good time, 23 minutes. Pretty good.
All right, then we go to Emin, and Emin, I always pronounce his name wrong. I don't think it's Emin. I think it's Emin, but sorry, Emin, if you're watching. Emin actually said, this is too hard, and all the other people are much faster than me, but luckily he still submitted his submission.
Is that video at 1x? No, it isn't. Right?
No,
it's at 2x.
It's at 2x, and now it's at 4x. So
because I was gonna say, if Emin says that and then has a 13-minute recording, like what the hell?
Yeah, so again here he starts by like listing out the different elements of what he needs to make, which is just useful because it helps you, like, it's basically your to-do list without having to write to-dos.
Okay, so there's also comment in the chat right now. Technically, and I didn't have time to implement it, the capture mode should define the height of the viewer depending of the capture ratio and the bottom. Yeah, that's something where you could actually use the UI screen size. Yeah, that would make sense, because not all camera modes actually like fill everything. For example, for the portrait mode, I think it's like a bit smaller, right, vertically.
Yeah.
So that probably makes a lot of sense to go off of the screen size, because then you can calculate like an aspect ratio. I always struggle with the aspect ratio modifier. For me, it never behaves the same. The way that I wanted to. But
I always just try all the 3 different options, and then I go to the option that looks closest to,
Yeah.
I mean the modifier where you can actually pass in like a number, a double. To say like, I want this view to have the aspect ratio of 1 to 3. It never works for me. Never.
Isn't it just a .fill, .fit, .cover or something?
Yeah, that's the aspect mode.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
and then there's also the aspect ratio modifier.
Okay, yeah. So that's for if you want to do 16:9 or
Yeah, for example. But it never works for me.
Yeah. The only thing I trust it with is if I want to make something like half the size, I'm like, yep, I know it'll work for this. But anything other than that, I'm like, I don't think it's gonna work.
That's where I would use UI screen, or where I would actually probably use a geometry reader actually.
Yeah, so here we see Emin adding the uppercase to all the strings that are in the text, whereas you could also just add it to the entire H stack as a modifier. Just uppercase.
Yeah, but I like that he's using uppercase instead of actually uppercasing the text, because that makes the UI independent of your data source. Like if you later on move all of these strings into like any like configuration object, it would always be uppercase no matter how the configuration object looks like.
Yeah, good point. See, Emin is already thinking 5 steps ahead. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, other than that, I think it's the really solid approach. I don't think there's anything here that we haven't seen before, but I think next time Emin shouldn't worry too much about his skills, because he's definitely knows what he's doing.
Yeah, this looks really good, man. I'm not too sure what you're worried about, Emin, man. This looks really good.
yeah, for sure. The only thing Command A, Control I to indent everything correctly.
So this next one is by, let me see the name again, by Dante Cesar. Cesar. Actually, a really fast time as well, 15 minutes. I actually hardly ever see this, the dotted lines.
Yeah, it's very rare.
I know there's one person in my work who uses that, and I asked him the other day, like, oh, what, like, does that actually help?
Why?
No, it actually does make sense though, because it literally helps you see what line and if there's any like extra spaces and stuff as well. So it actually is useful.
Yeah.
I think it's
and also to like find out if everything is indented correctly, right? Because you have these dots there to like count.
Yeah.
I don't know, or to like visually have a better understanding of the indentation.
And I think specifically,
and I also like that they're hiding the left sidebar.
Yes, to give more space for just so they don't have to. Well, they could make the canvas smaller, I guess.
So this is something I really like that they were doing. The only gripe that I would have is that you wouldn't need to use the I can never remember what it's called. You don't need to use the square brackets. What's it called now? When is it subscripting? Yeah, you wouldn't need to use subscripting to access it at the index because the string's already identifiable, so you can just use that as a unique identifier. But the fact that there's a model up there to loop through all the different components that are the same.
Yeah, great job. Scroll back up to.
And also, if you're looping through the indices and the objects change, your view won't refresh. Because you only have a dependency on the indices and they don't change.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely one of those little things that makes your code cleaner and just puts the boilerplate stuff out of the way.
Yeah, but like going for each year is definitely a good idea for sure.
Yeah, and then this is also nice where they actually check, right, is the modes index 2? If so, then make it yellow. Whereas in a real app, you would make it so if this is the selected camera modes, then make it yellow.
Also, maybe one more trick to sprinkle in here. If you want to comment and uncomment multiple lines, you can do that by Command/ or Command Shift 7 on a German keyboard.
I will say, Flo, that is one keyboard shortcut I do know. I can impress you a bit more. Command/ when you does the comment as well, man.
then there's also one that I hate that I can't really do on the German keyboard. That's Command square brackets to move the code up one line.
Yeah, I actually changed that to
weird.
I changed that to a different combination for me. So for me, it's just holding Option and just arrow up or down. So I would
it's a good idea actually. Yeah.
Once you get, I use that so much with SwiftUI, where sometimes the order of the modifiers can actually change what it looks like. Yeah, it's a game changer for me. I've been using it now for a few months, and yeah, I don't know how I did it before. Let me just quickly grab the end result here. And so, big thing at the top.
The design is definitely there. They didn't pay a lot of attention to sizing and alignment, but the design is definitely there.
Yeah, and it's also an interesting font. They didn't use the standard San Francisco font. I'm not sure it's closer to the actual fonts than it should be, but yeah, that shows that they were at least trying to mimic it a bit more. And you can see here at the icon on the bottom right that they're using the bolder version of it. So if you use SF symbols, you can actually use different thicknesses. And yeah, I'm not sure what's the font weight. Is that the word?
Yeah, font weight. Yeah.
So that's an easy way to use the same SF fonts, SF symbols in your app, but maybe your app is more playful, so you want the icons to be a bit thicker, for example. So it's to not make your app just look like every other app that's using SF symbols. Then we have Megan. Let's have a look.
I want to say Megan is another iOS content creator as well. You know, I feel like I've stumbled across one of her videos. I want to say.
I've never heard of her before.
Yeah, I feel like I saw.
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, it sounds familiar. Yeah, I was right. Do I get any points?
Yes, you get 2 points for Flo. 2 points for Toon.
Commenter of the day.
All right, so let's have a look at what Megan was doing.
I also this is the first one with the custom Explore theme, right?
Yeah.
All the others were plain light or plain dark mode.
No, actually, the second or third person as well had.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I always find that interesting. Like,
Yeah, how to choose.
I just use whatever is there.
It's also
doing
nice.
a similar thing here as well, where she's keeping it, she's separating out the model as well, which is really good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And at the bottom left, you can actually see what keyboard shortcuts are being used, which is also nice.
Yeah. How did I miss that, man? This will probably teach me those shortcuts.
So let's see.
Interesting. So she actually used the Z-Stack here. She didn't actually use the background modifier for the camera.
You're right. And then also started with the camera instead of the control elements.
Oh my god, Megan's gone hard with the editing here. Do you see the little pop-ups that say the cozy
Yeah,
as well? Why did she use a YouTuber?
Oh, nice.
Cool.
Yeah. So, me personally, I would. I would take this whole image stuff and just put it in a separate function already, because this for me would really like muddy up the project, if because it's just a background basically.
Or like the camera image or something. That's what I would call it probably.
Yeah, you mean move it into like a computer property, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it can also just be personal choice, of course.
Yeah.
So here you see the for each being used.
Yeah, with the.
I'd also love for each to support you to remove the ID.self thing if the object is hashable, because that's essentially what you're doing right there. No, I think hashable is actually enough.
Okay.
If I'm not right.
Yeah. Well, obviously, then you would have to make a custom object and everything, so that might be a bit more.
Yeah. Well, strings are hashable by themselves. They're not identifiable, but they're hashable.
Okay. So
that's why you can do .self.
Mm-hmm.
The entire object is the identifier. But I'd love it if for each, like, you could just drop the ID.self part if it is hashable.
Yeah, that would be nice.
It's really interesting that you say that, Flo, because when like you're building these things and coding it, like especially me myself, I don't think that writing this extra stuff is like, oh, I kind of just accept that, like, oh, this is how it is. But when you actually deepen, you're like, wait a second, that's a bit weird. I have to specify that self for that. But I am interested. Oh, that's where the for each is. I was wondering where did that go?
Yeah. It was a little practice for each. Yeah.
All right.
And this is also very interesting because they're using a very old device as their preview device. So naturally, stuff will look really big on there.
I wonder if that's on purpose. So maybe Megan, if you're watching, let us know if that was on purpose. Because you'll probably run into issues then if you want to compare it to the source. But yeah, it's not that important.
Fiona's also saying in the chat that she's using, or they're using, the same shortcut as you, Jordi, Option and arrows to move lines up and down.
Yeah, it's super powerful. And what's also nice here is the first time where we're seeing actually like, all right, if the mode is the selected mode is photo, then make it yellow. Obviously, that's like wasn't necessarily
that photo string would be like a state variable in reality, right? That would be selected mode.
Yeah. And then obviously you would have to move it around, but we have another entry later that does go into that as well. But yeah, it's really cool to see that when you're making a speedrun, you can put a little bit more effort into it and actually make it like work and make it real, which I think is one of the nicest things about like prototyping with SwiftUI, because you can just make a functioning app by just adding a few more state variables and then just making it work. Another approach for the circles. So they make a circle and then a background circle in there as well, and then there's a stroke border. So wouldn't this just be able to be one circle then if you just have the background be a
I think one of the background modifiers could be removed.
I think if you was to do it that way, technically you could just have the one circle, like you're saying, where you just apply the stroke onto the one. You could apply the stroke onto the first one, right? And then the other one would be a background, which would be the white circle. But
yeah. So here they're comparing it, which is interesting because if you look at the here, the icons are quite small at the top. So then Megan starts comparing them to the actual design, and then you see that.
She's using Rocket Sim as well, yeah.
Yes.
Also, Emin is in the chat right now, and he says also share that color scheme. So Megan, if you're watching the stream, hit up Emin on Twitter and let him know about that color scheme.
Nice. Yeah, overall, like again, a few really interesting approaches here. So we're almost at our last two, but before I want to go to those two, I wanted to highlight something that I did in mine, because I think no one actually did those corner things.
Yeah.
So I was curious.
At least up until
Jordan,
now.
Jordan, I might have to correct you there. There is one person who did do it.
Oh, never mind. Then
There is, and I think you're about to go on to him now.
All right, let's see. I was like, I don't want to go all the way back again at the end. So what I liked from this one is that they actually already typed the names of what they're going to call their computer variables.
Yeah.
And
then also using view builders here. Interesting.
So what's the benefit of using view builders here compared to just a normal?
In this case, there is actually no benefit.
Yeah.
I think they're only
showing
useful if you have not
More
a
than one.
set return type.
Yeah.
So if you have like a control statement in there, like an if statement, or a switch case.
Yeah, which can return.
But most people are just put it everywhere just to be sure.
sorry, Philip. So it's more if the view that could be returned is not the same type. So let's say, for example, the thing here, why you don't need a view builder is because it's always going to return a H stack, which is the type. But if you had like a condition where it could return either a H stack or a button, they're underlying. I feel like what's his name? You did Swift and Tips. Yeah, is he called the YouTube channel Swift and Tips? I can't remember his name.
Swift and Tips, yeah. Pitt.
Pitt. So he does a really good video on all pig types. So because they're two different types, you kind of need to use a view builder so you let it know that these are two possible conditions where I can return some kind of view.
And then actually in the end, the OPEC type will be replaced by a view builder with like actual generics of the exact views that are in there. Yeah. Which then ends up to be like a tuple view of a tuple view of a tuple view of a tuple view.
But you don't see that, but under the hood you do. I think it's in that demystifying SwiftUI.
Yes, they have a really clear talk about that. Yeah, with the dogs, and there's like a red dog and a blue dog. But so like a small piece of attention to detail here. So for the icon at the top left for the flash, a lot of people just took the SF symbol for lightning with a circle. There's just this one bold circle, right? Yeah. And actually, you can now search for flash, and it will show these actually. So
that's
there
interesting.
already is some stuff there, but what you can see here is that they actually give a background circle with a stroke, and then overlay an image, because that allows them to create a different opacity for that circle outline.
Yeah.
But with SF symbols 3. That is actually also possible with SF symbols directly.
With the hierarchical thing where you can give each. Yeah.
I always have no idea how it works.
In that case, no points for that.
But Mark Moykens, Big Mountain Studio, has a bunch of tips on that on his Twitter, and also in his books, of course.
I think you just pass different foreground colors, like an array of foreground colors.
Or foreground styles.
That might be it. Yeah. And I'm always there's some set colors, I think, so it's not like you can change each thing individually, because it's made per.
There's like certain layers or something.
Yeah. Let's see. So moved on to the bottom bar. I guess the top bar.
Also,
go on.
Also, getting back to that view builder thing, it's also needed if you want to not have a stack but still multiple views in your computed variable. If you, for example, have 3 views in an H stack, but you want to have the H stack outside of the computed variable, I think then you also need a view builder.
I don't think I'm fully sure what you mean by that, but maybe you can give an example.
Say that again.
So if you have an H stack with 3 views in it, right? And now you want to extract it to its own component. You can either grab the entire H stack into a computed variable, or you can only grab the 3 views into a computed variable. So then you could, for example, change the H stack to a V stack in a small screen. And then I think in that case, you also need a view builder, because you're returning multiple views at once.
Yeah, you would do in that case.
Yeah. So one thing they're doing here is they actually made an enum for the capture mode.
I love that.
Also case iterable. Favorite protocol for enums.
Yes, it's great. But I'm wondering why would they have to do ID raw value? Because
it's not identifiable.
Yeah, exactly. It's not hashable. I guess they could
That's the
add that
exact
there
same
as
thing
well.
as before. The
Yeah.
enum is a string as a raw value, which is hashable, but you still need to
Yeah, okay.
specify it
yeah.
via the ID.
But you could, of course, also make it identifiable and then just do var ID as
Self.
a type string and then self the raw value. And then, yeah, but again, that doesn't really matter here because it's one line that you have to put in a different position.
And they're also using a button here,
Mm-hmm.
which is always a nice touch.
Which is probably because they want to make it actually work later on, I think. So here you're putting a mask with some gradient stops. So
Yeah, so this is the person, I think this might be the person who did the bottom gradient that I was saying that has that like the different color stops. Yeah, it is.
yeah. Where it's not just not just like this, but actually only the outsides. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a linear gradient just with colors, but there you don't have the option to actually set the location. And this is a way to do that, which is actually really nice because you can have a lot of control over the gradient in a simple way.
Yeah.
And also the mask modifier is something that you rarely see, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, not to plug myself, but I kind of showed out my YouTube channel.
And by doing a mask modifier, they don't put an extra color on top of it, which messes it up. Because I did a gradient on top of it as an overlay, but then the outside part would have a different color because it would be the background gradient with some yeah. Okay.
That mask modifier is so underrated when you want to kind of just like slap something on top of something. Like it's so nice.
For example, if you want to have a gradient on or like an image, like a text of an image. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah.
No, I know you're getting that, but it's kind of like if you just want to kind of just almost like in so they say I can't remember what the mode is in Sketch, but it's kind of just like whack it on top and just like stick it on. It's really good, man.
Yeah. So I think this
also,
is why we have to pay attention because this is the whole alignment guides thing that we all said.
This blew my mind. This one I didn't even know you could do this.
So let's just watch in awe and see what's going on. Placeholder.
Adding a nice placeholder there. Okay.
I think that's for the zoom buttons, maybe.
And then now the alignment guide.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just skipped it back again.
I love how I'm in the recording here. He pointed at it to show us like this is what I'm doing, like it's a YouTube tutorial as well.
Just silently watching. In the meantime, Emin also chatted again and he said, we at least get bonus points for the green camera on circle. And I honestly just missed that. But if you implement that, heads up, that's a super nice detail.
If you implement a what?
The green dot at the top of the screen in the status bar for the camera being turned on.
Awesome. Okay,
that's a nice detail.
So I'm trying to understand what's going on here. So maybe
Yeah,
Tunde, you had a chance to look at it already before?
I wanted to run it and debug it to figure it out, but the one thing that I can't get my head around is that in that alignment guide you can return like the anchors, like leading, trailing, but he returns dot capture mode. So I was trying to look at what that is, that dot capture mode, but I didn't have time to figure it out because I was just curious to know what logic is inside of that dot capture mode. Maybe I'll have a look now.
I think it's just a state variable.
Is it? But I
you can see it in line 53.
Yeah, I couldn't
state capture mode.
Yeah, I couldn't understand. I couldn't get my head around why that could get returned almost like it was like leading or trailing. But that's something.
Maybe it's like a weird key path.
No. But he made a custom alignment guide. And
so that's like a static, right? Okay,
here,
I didn't look into that far.
Right, an extension.
There it is. Yeah, that's what it is.
Well, that's like level 1000.
I still have no clue what's going on there, so I'll have another look after this stream is over and actually try to figure it out.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I think what he's doing there is it's the width of the view, and it's basically 50% of the view. So I think what he's doing is he's kind of aligning that text to be in the middle of the screen.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or else align it to the left, align it leading this way. So he's kind of like changing the position of it based on the coordinates of the width. So yeah, that's pretty impressive, that man.
For sure.
And
yeah, alignment guides still blow my mind.
And this is probably where the lines are going to be added, right? in the corners.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Faster
Sorry to
that
steal-
line.
sorry to steal your thunder, Jody, man.
Much cleaner than mine. Well, I guess my approach is less lines of code, but more hectic. But yeah, the pods is like, it's always nice. Like a lot of stuff could he, yeah, as you can see, he spends a
Oh,
lot
and then
of time.
also used multiple cursors there, right?
Yeah.
Did I get that correctly?
Multiple cursors. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, because all of the he's trying.
That's also an underrated Xcode feature.
Wait, how do you do that? So you
can option drag your mouse or
No,
like
but-
option
no, but-
click somewhere.
yeah, but like look here, he goes through it and just yeah. If someone in
So
the chat
good.
knows how to do that, please tell us.
I think Saroon has a blog post that shows you these shortcuts as well. I'm pretty sure because I remember learning the one where you hold down Alt and you drag it down a line and you can rename everything on the lines that you dragged it onto.
Yeah, that's super powerful.
Yeah.
One of the few shortcuts you should like actually learn.
I'm just gonna.
I am curious though, Jody. I would like to see your implementation of that. So we can, like...
I'll show it in a sec, but it's not sexy. Hang on, let me just quickly run this actual. So this is the end result for this build.
Pretty close.
Super close, yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that was really close, but then you can, for example, see here at the bottom right in that circle. It's like a lot smaller, so it's interesting.
The wrong font size.
Yeah, so many things are so well done, but yeah, it's not good enough because the bottom right icon is not good. No, but it's like super nice to see. Yeah, like here, this is really well done. Can you click here as well? No, but yeah, really well done. Let me show mine. So let's see, somewhere here. I'm just trying to look around my lights so I think I already did it at the start. So yeah.
I think no one has used SF menu bar yet, right?
No.
Everyone's using the SF symbols app.
So basically I made like a horizontal line view and a vertical line view. And then you can see it here. It's very ugly, as you can see, the outside line thing. But it gets the job done. Because it's the same line at these places, and it was just one place where you can just change the numbers compared to what the previous one had, where you would look at the max y and everything, which is probably much more. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if one is necessarily better or not, but yeah, mine is just very simple. I just put the lines there.
Yeah, very plain SwiftUI using what is already there.
Yeah. And then we have the last one for today by Mark. Mark used Vimeo, and this morning I couldn't. Oh yes, nice. I can skip actually now, so that's good. I wasn't able to skip before, so I thought, okay, that's going to be a very long video. Let's see what Mark did. Nice little.
Nice background image there. I like it.
A koala,
man. Bonus points.
Who doesn't like a koala?
Okay, basically starting the same as everyone.
Yeah.
With the top thing. And then also using a Z-stack here instead of a background modifier. And I also noticed...
I actually didn't know you could do this, that you could apply a weight to the title.
Yeah.
You can apply directly to the font. And then I think there's also like a dot system where you specify a size and then a weight as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to say, sorry, is it Emin?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Emin.
Yeah, Emin did that before in his example where he specified the system and then the design and the size and all.
Yeah. Also, that design is also really interesting. Like, just giving your entire app a design of rounded looks so much better.
Yeah.
Makes it feel much more unique compared to all the other apps that just use default stuff.
Yeah.
I will say one thing that I found interesting in this one was for the background. I think the frame height was set to the screen size. No, the width. The width was set to the screen width. You could just use dot infinity there.
Yeah. A lot of people don't actually know about max width infinity. And there's also greatest finite magnitude, which does exactly the same as infinity, I think.
Is that what that does? I've always wondered what that does.
Yeah, greatest finite magnitude is like actually the largest number that type can store, and infinity is like some magic stuff. But in reality, like the screen is definitely not larger than the largest integer that you could store, so it works out in the end.
Nice gradient.
And then also
action
what I noticed here was they were using actual frame modifiers on their circles instead of using paddings and aligning them that way.
I saw some other people doing that as well, but would you use a padding for that then?
I think I would use a padding.
Oh wait,
I don't like hard coding any numbers.
You mean for the circle at the top and the bottom right, or
no, the shutter button
okay,
at the bottom center.
but how would you do that then? Because you make a circle, so you have to give a frame, right?
Yeah, one of them has to have a frame. I would probably put them in a Z-stack and give the Z-stack a frame, and then give everything inside of that a padding as like an offset.
So the Z-stack for you would essentially just be like the wrapper around it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't know. I just really dislike magic numbers. I also dislike using exact font sizes. I always use body or caption or headline or whatever. I don't know. Something about it that I just don't like.
Yeah, so I think.
But this design also looks pretty good now.
Yeah. The main thing I notice here is like the sizes are not correct and the padding and everything. But I mean, especially for the time, like 23 minutes gets the job done, and everyone clearly sees that it's a camera app. So I think with that, unless there were any pull requests in the last 1.5 hours, no, I guess those were our entries. I'm quite disappointed that I didn't see any entries from the other two judges, but I'll have to prepare better for the next edition.
I entered in the animations one actually.
I know.
But only very simple, so.
So yeah, I guess now is maybe a good time for us to go through what we liked, and I think what I really liked about Anika's one is just how accurate it was with the 3D rotation and everything, especially with the time. I think that was the one that looked most like, and also Saroon had also a really good one there.
And Jerome as well.
I
think attention to detail.
I think for Jerome, we're pretty much unanimous on that one, because we were just staring at his code for 5 minutes straight.
And like also almost pixel perfect, except for that one image in the bottom right.
Let me just.
And also for Annika, we were just talking about me not liking magic numbers, but in this format, you can do it and you can get pretty good results with it, right?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm just going to go through all of them real quick again to refresh in everyone's memory. Our first entry here by Andrew.
Yeah, and Andrew using that digital color meter to get the exact kind
photo
of
color,
yellow.
right?
I also like that,
Yeah, it's definitely nice. Let's see, this is Frank. With the custom font and everything as well.
Yeah, exactly. And the monospaced font, now that I see it, also interesting.
Yeah. Anika Saroon. Oh yeah, Saroon
with the major attention to detail. Like,
I think Saroon is probably the most accurate actually. Let me.
Either him or Jerome, I think, one of the two.
I want to say Saroon might just pip it. From what I can remember.
Okay, let me actually try to find Saroon's, because I have 20 Xcode projects open now. Yes, which one is it? okay, I'm just gonna open it again. Saroon.
You and your unorganized window management.
No. This works for me. Don't
talk yourself out. I've seen worse screenshots than this.
True. Yeah, so Saroon's is.
Yeah.
Although he
very close, but a tiny offset at both the top and bottom bar.
Yeah.
And then also missing the status bar hidden.
Yeah. Did Jerome have the status bar hidden actually?
I can't remember.
I don't remember.
Let's see.
Yeah, no.
Doesn't look like it.
No.
Wait.
No, that's the Rocket Sim design feature.
Let's see. Oh, Vikram. I think Vikram taught us the most. With all these, what was that thing again? With the embeddings in VStack.
Yeah.
Very clean. with everything in separate views.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was also quite accurate, right?
I think also who was that one? Tokarev, the one right after Vikram, also had made like everything reusable. Everything has their own function.
Yeah. So this is Vikram's entry. And I think this might be if you look at the distance and all the icons at the top and everything as well.
Close,
I think this
super close.
this is the closest one we have so
Yeah.
far. Let's have a look at Tokarev. I'm not sure this was actually super close, but this was just a really good attention to detail after all that time put in. Trying to think if there's but it is a speed run, so I guess by definition they kind of are out of
we have to deduct a few points there.
Yeah. Dario was the video. Let me grab that. Where is that? Where is Dario? She's over here. Bonus points for the little thanks for watching at the end.
Yeah.
Other than that, like there was a
and also for Megan for all of the editing efforts.
Yes. If those were criteria, they would have definitely scored some points for that. But yeah, here you see some padding that's a bit off, but still some nice attention to detail there. Let's see.
Ryan is also writing to the chat. Exact font sizes also break dynamic fonts, so it's bad for accessibility, and that's exactly why I dislike them.
Good one. There might actually be some hard-coded font sizes in the inaccessibility app. So if you
say that.
Oh, don't spoil it.
well, if you don't
so
see
everyone
that,
got a head start now. Everyone who watched this stream has a head start now for that.
Yeah, no, there's plenty of other things in there to look out for. Yeah, I think the one by Emin. Did he actually put the green dot in there? He did. Here at the bottom. Yeah. Some attention to detail there is nice. Although the buttons are a bit small, so I have to deduct some points for that. Let's see, and then we have.
And then also the indentation.
True.
Other than that, pretty close, and yeah, that green dot.
Yeah, so far no one had everything perfect. In the ideal candidate would have like had a little bit from every. Oh, it's nice here, little scroll view in there as well, by Dante, and then Megan with the nice theme.
Factoring out all of the strings into like member objects. Or
an array. Everything. And changing some of the sizes afterwards.
Yeah.
And then we have, I forgot his name, Jerome. Yeah, but we already looked at that one. And Mark, we also just looked at that one. Yeah. So, let's see.
This one is tough to judge. This one is tough because everyone shines in their like own area, I would say.
But I think we can all agree that at least Jerome is one of the three winners, right?
Yeah.
Just because good time, good attention to detail, some advanced tricks to actually make it work. Even though it's like bonus points, not necessary, but like it really helps bring the design to life. So a little round of applause for Jerome. Let's start with that. So
nicely done.
Yeah. Congrats. So by the way, the three winners, even though everyone's winners for participating, get a free year subscription for Rocket Sim, and everyone who entered gets a free license for Vivid as well. So yeah, that's number one, or not number one, but the first winner.
But one of the three.
Let's see.
I also want to say Vikram.
Yeah.
I would say Vikram as well.
Yeah,
we also talked a lot about his code, so that also speaks for itself.
Yeah, I actually still have it open here. It's super accurate, nice code and everything, very clean. So yeah, all three for Vikram as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Am I the only one giving applause? Come on, guys.
I was just looking at my notes. Sorry.
I was distracted by the chat.
Yeah, and so for my third one, I'm kind of doubting between Annika and Sarun. So Annika, because if it's a speed run, then Annika should definitely get points for being the fastest one with 13
Yeah,
13 and
for
a half
sure.
minutes.
And also super accurate
Yeah.
with like exact point sizes and so on.
Yeah.
But then again, a little bit of like cheating when preparing yourself like that.
Yeah, but on the other end, like I bet she's not the only one who tried some of the views out before actually using them in the recording, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And like it's really accurate, but especially for the time. Like if you look at the time there as well, I think that's definitely some bonus points in that aspect.
Yeah, and people also don't realize that like even for YouTube videos, you often like write out the exact same code beforehand and then just like you know what I mean. But even then, it's hard to do it so fast.
Yeah, don't stop dishing out the dirt, man. We called it first time.
Yeah, I've never heard about that topic. I mean,
he's right,
everything is freestyle.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that I think for me, if I had to choose between Annika and Sarun, I'm probably gonna lean towards Annika. Only reason why is because although she had the time to look, you're like in a realistic environment, right? Like you kind of do see the designs and you kind of do think about how you're going to approach this anyway. So it's not. No one ever just gets it and it's like, oh, I've never saw this before, and then they just start coding. Like you do kind of see it and kind of start to think how you approach things. So
yeah, also in real life, like you get handed the design and you don't have to implement it on the spot, right?
No,
it always gets like discussed about, and then you have a few weeks and you maybe think about it and already have ideas. So I think it's totally fine to prepare yourself. On the other hand, Sarun went the extra mile with actually like measuring the image sizes and so on.
Okay, I'm gonna look at the Olympic committee here in the back. I'm gonna check if it's possible to have 4 winners in this event. Let me just double check. Is it possible to get 4 winners? I just heard through my earpiece that we can actually have 4 winners, so we can let both Annika and Sarun win. We'll be okay with that.
That's to both of you.
It's fine by me, man.
I'm just gonna have to tell Antoine, but he'll probably be fine with that.
Yeah.
so yeah. Really nice. I'm really happy we got so many really good submissions. To everyone who entered, thanks so much for taking the time, and hope you learned from it as well. And yeah, definitely go look through some of the code of some of the other people that entered, because there's a lot of stuff to learn there. Because we spent 1.5 hours just going through stuff,
and we skipped through all of the videos. There's so much more in there.
Yeah, and but I think it really shows that there's even people who consider themselves beginners had really interesting things in their code that we could all learn from. Well, Sarun is actually a beginner as well, according to himself. Which I'm not sure if you look at his blog, he
I think he does a lot of UI kit on his blog, right? Not too much SwiftUI.
Yeah, that might be the case. So yeah, I think with that we've kind of come to the end of this. But yeah, first before we end it, I want to thank Tunde and Flo a lot for your help, guys. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me. It was super easy going. The conversation was flowing, so appreciate it. Tunde, I know that you're working on some stuff that's coming out soon, like a nice course for people, SwiftUI. Anything you want to preview there? Anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I'm basically, I've got it in the plans. I'm kind of waiting for WWDC to calm down because, I don't want them to release a new API and then it basically makes all my videos obsolete. But I'm kind of like working on a free course that teaches you how to go about tackling an iOS take-home project. So if you're someone who's like brand new to iOS and you kind of want to know how to tackle one of those, if you get it before your interview, I'm kind of just got a course where I kind of walk you through what I look for and when I'm interviewing people as well. So hopefully that can be a good free resource for people who are just getting started in iOS. So yeah.
Yeah, so people can follow.
I'm looking forward to that one.
It's funny that you went on my profile because now you can see the pictures of what I cooked on the weekend. You see the spring rolls and the people think I do iOS videos, but I make tiramisu.
So the free course is actually a cooking class. No, but yeah, definitely. If you're not doing it already, go follow ToonStaff on Twitter. He shares like there's a new video every day or something, and. Is there anything else I wanted to show there? No, yeah. Oh, yeah, his YouTube channel.
Also on YouTube for sure.
Yeah. So super clear videos about like basic components of SwiftUI, but also more advanced use cases and how to use them actually in apps. So most videos are like under an hour. I guess all of them are. Well, there's one here that's a bit longer, but it's just super useful. And I look at them all the time if I need a refresher or if I need some inspiration. So yeah, keep it up.
I think Tunde, if we give you like half a year, then you will have a video for every single topic there is, right?
Maybe I will.
All right, and Flo, what do you want to share? What are you working on?
I'm actually currently not making many videos because I'm also holding on for WWDC. I'm just afraid that anything that I release right now is just outdated in 2 weeks. So I'm just not doing anything on YouTube for now. Daily Twitter stuff, and also I released a bunch of apps to help indie developers. So for example, Launchbody, you can try it out. It's free to get started with it. Basically an app to like organize all of the indie projects that you're working on. Has like a task manager in there and a release scheduler and stuff like that. Yeah, have a look, and I hope it helps you.
And the same, even though there's not a lot of new videos coming out now, Flo.
Yeah, there will be a lot of videos during and after WWDC.
Yeah, so
I'll go like ham mode, but
what I like
not
about
before
Flo's
that.
videos is they're just always super clear, very personal as well, because you see Flo there, and he's giving these little explanations about what to use. And I remember in December, I think you had like 20 videos or something like back to back. They were just, you kept popping them out, and they're always like useful as well. So. For example, my intern is now using one of Flo's courses to actually learn how to make widgets, which is a five-step course, I think, 5-video course.
I don't even know anymore. I think I added like a few more after the course was actually completed because I found out more stuff myself. So I figured I might as well add it to the course later on.
Yeah, she actually ran into some issues, so I'm gonna maybe stalk you with some questions after this as well.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so that was it for the first day of the SwiftUI series, I guess. Super happy with how it went. So far, though, it seems that this event got the most attention, because if we're looking at the event that we have tomorrow, which is focused around workarounds, we have another pull request, so I guess we have 2 entries there so far, so maybe more coming tonight. But the second event tomorrow is all about like these workarounds that you have to do in SwiftUI still. SwiftUI, while it's super useful for a lot of things, it's not capable of all the stuff that you can do with UIKit, or at least not in an easy way. So tomorrow we're going to look at like different ways to get around these challenges, and with 2 really nice judges as well, Melin and Christian. I think it's Melin or Malin, who are both. Like Christian has been getting more into SwiftUI lately, and he's running into all these things that he has to figure out workarounds for. And Malin has been working on Orbit, which is sort of like a time tracking like freelance app, also on macOS. So she has also like been through a lot of those workarounds. So yeah, if you feel inspired to share some of your workaround codes, it's basically just go through your projects and figure out some weird hacks you had to do in the years and just submit them, and maybe a little bit of just something you want to share about it.
Some ideas could be like navigation or navigation bars or stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think a good one for those workarounds as well would also be like how people use extensions to help also speed things up as well. Like for example, rather than you having to do navigation and then put stuff in, creating like a modifier called like embedded navigation view or something, just little things like that.
Yeah, and also with just so few people participating until now, it's a very high chance to win.
Yeah, although there's nothing to win in that event except the pride of winning. But
you're still the winner.
Yeah, true. You can still get the badge, and in the next if we're doing this again, there will definitely be some prizes. But for now, it's about the honor of winning. So I want to thank Tunde and Flo again for helping out, and I want to thank everyone for watching and everyone for entering. And hopefully, I'll see a bunch of you tomorrow. It'll be a bit earlier than today, about 3 hours earlier, due to time difference and everything, but it should still be good. So yeah, thanks.
Looking forward to tomorrow, and thank you so much for organizing this.
Cheers, man.
You're welcome. Bye bye.
All right. Bye.